The 8th anniversary is definitely the most successful anniversary, not just anniversary though, celebration we've ever had in Dragon Ball Legends history. The terminology I'm using here is very specific, choosing the word successful over terms like greatest, best, or biggest, as I believe it's very subjective when it comes to what you think is the best or greatest celebration in Dragon Ball Legends history. In this case, we're gonna hone in on anniversaries, but without a doubt, the 8th anniversary is definitely a great and objectively the most successful they've ever had. Just look at these posts here. Dragon Ball Legends has reached #1. Dragon Ball Legends has reached #1. Dragon Ball Legends has reached #1. 3 posts telling us that Dragon Ball Legends has hit #1, and in that we had received a free 1000 Chrono Crystals. If you don't know what that means, we hit top grossing, #1 on the App Store, not just in part 1, in part 2 and part 3. And if you guys don't know, that's never happened before in a celebration for Dragon Ball Legends. There's been many celebrations where we've hit top grossing in part 1 and part 3, but usually part 2 lags behind. And when I say usually, it's like always. But this celebration, some way, somehow, is the true exception. But back to the start of the video, I used the specific terminology successful. I honed in on the word successful because a celebration, at the end of the day, doesn't have to be your favorite just because it makes the most revenue. Though the revenue does show the player base does definitely respect the celebration, but the character picks, they might have not been for you. So ultimately I wanted to break that down in this video by just honing in on some anniversaries so that you guys can have your pick. In the comment section below, you probably already have your opinion, but maybe depending on how I talk about the celebrations in this video, you might change your mind. So let me know and let's get into this. Right, so if we're being real, I'm not lining up every single anniversary for this video. I decided to pick 3, then I thought about it a bit harder and I was like, realistically speaking, we should have at least 4 because the 4th one deserves a mention in this video. But first, I'll tell you which anniversaries I'm not mentioning and why. So the first anniversary is not getting a mention because it only has 1 part. I don't want to say we're done with the 90s in this case because the first anniversary was one of the best ever experiences, but it's just not comparable because it only has 1 part. The second anniversary is just the worst ever. Shout out my boy Vegito Blue, I enjoyed my time, but it also only has 2 parts, which just makes it not comparable, so we're gonna move on from that. The same thing with the third anniversary, wasn't the greatest, and you can just see that from a glance, but it also only has 2 parts, so we're gonna move on from that. Now in regards to the 4th anniversary, I'm not even opposed to including it, but the main reason I didn't is because the part 1 was so horrendous. Having the character leak, but also the only good character in part 1, the sparking, was absolutely useless, and then having a Legends Limited outside of the celebration take over the celebration, that's just not good eats, man. So the 4 we are including, which is actually a good thing because it's more recent times, would be the 5th anniversary, the 6th anniversary, the 7th anniversary, and of course the 8th anniversary. For this video, I'm going to try not to include my personal feelings, so I'm going to speak for the community based on what I saw and how people reacted per the times, and I won't necessarily be factoring in how times have changed because naturally the 7th and the 8th anniversary having the ground battles has an impact on the experience when playing PvP. So for that reason, I won't be downplaying the 5th and the 6th anniversary because they don't have that. That's just a natural upscale that's going to happen. So when speaking about the anniversaries, I'll speak as if we're there right now. So just bear that in mind as going forward, because otherwise future celebrations should always just be better, and in that case it would be recency bias. So yeah, let's get into this. So I felt the best way to go about this video would be to put out some categories and then order the anniversaries that I'm using to get a total score at the end. So I've got 3 categories because I feel like these are the main things that define a celebration. The first thing would be the reveals. So this regards the theatrics and if anything leaked. The anticipation aspect, building up the hype so we can see the characters for the first time. The second category we're going to be using is the actual characters themselves, so the art cards, their animations, and what they actually do, so regarding their kit. Not specifically performance in this case, but the creative aspect, so if there's new mechanics and how that correlates to what they do in the anime. And the final category will be meta/gameplay, so it's how the game actually felt at that time. It's all fun having cool characters, but can you use them? Are they good enough? Are you enjoying your time time with them, that's a whole different ball game, and only if you were there at the time would you know about that. And beyond these three factors, there are categories that could make or break your celebration. For example, you could have just got shafted, so you didn't enjoy the celebration at all, which would be a shame, of course, but we're just not going to include that because that's a really personal factor that would make or break a celebration for you. So let's start with the first category, which is reveals. I think it's very fair to say that the worst celebration out of these four when it comes to the reveals would be the 7th anniversary. There was just so much that went wrong in the celebration, it's unreal. The 7th anniversary part 1 leaked, so the whole part 1 when it comes to the reveal is void in my opinion. We knew MUI Goku and SSBE Vegeta were going to drop, and when they dropped, it wasn't really moving us regardless because we've had so many UIs in addition, so the timing is kind of like they were tone deaf to the community, and having it leaked just doesn't help their case. Though MUI Goku, very spectacular animations. The part 2, it was good, don't get it twisted, and they definitely did get aided by the ground battles being implemented into Dragon Ball Legends, and the unit picks, in my opinion, they are good unit picks, but there's definitely going to be a huge portion of the fan base that aren't happy about it, and that's just what was the case. I wouldn't say it generated an astounding amount of hype, but the reveal was probably a better one considering the huge scale update that they brought to Dragon Ball Legends. And then regarding the part 3, I would say this reveal was easily one of the best we've had. The Ultra Super Saiyan Goku and Full Power Frieza, plus the performance, they did really good with this part with the ink and everything like that. The units being high quality definitely helped the reveal, but in general the part 3 for the 7th anniversary was just good, but I don't think anything beyond these points would help them get higher on this list. So with that being said, the number 3 is going to be the 8th anniversary. This might be shocking to a lot of people, but I think this celebration when it comes to the reveals is definitely carried by the fact that the units are simply high quality. The part 1 reveal was great, don't get it twisted, but they were pushing this unpredictable narrative, and then they basically had to promote their own part 1, so we knew that it was going to be the Dragon Ball Super Broly units. We get Broly and Gogeta, and I don't think them dropping an Ultra Gogeta Blue 2.0 is enough to say that the part 1 was really unpredictable. Yes, we didn't expect a new Gogeta Blue, but would you say that's unpredictable just because they dropped a Gogeta Blue? We knew we were going to get a Gogeta, but that's not saying the reveal wasn't good. It was definitely super hype seeing these characters, but like I said earlier, it's definitely the quality of the units that is carrying this case, and there was a huge discourse about whether it's good we got a new Gogeta and whether it should have been another variation, etc, etc, showing that it wasn't all happy and smiles. And then we go on to the part 2. Again, there was a huge discourse here about Chalet, whether he should have been summonable, whether he should have even been part 2, and Gohan and Trunks, though they were actually unpredictable, there's still an aspect of people not being happy about them being the pick when they could have gone something else. In my opinion, I think it was fine, but again, the discourse being there about whether it was a good reveal or not based on the characters they chose, and even just how they were displayed. Chalet was doing story mode animations. I think that lowers a lot of points for a lot of people and how they felt when watching that. And then going into the part 3, we have the Boo duo. I think very easily they lose a lot of points here because it leaked. Going back to my first point, I have to reiterate it because it's actually such a big factor for this celebration. The units are just so high quality that the reveal still looks good, but if it was any other celebration where a unit leaked, we'd have to deduct points. And I think it's also ironic that they put out a statement following their terms and conditions for them to just leak it themselves, but nonetheless, the unit is so good it made the reveal feel exciting. But like I said, we cannot be biased here. It leaking is truly a disappointment. Next up, we've got the 5th anniversary, and I think this one could definitely be argued as first when it comes to the reveals and how people felt during the time. The part 1, seeing Go Frieza jumping off the rocks and the flickering light on Goku, a lot of people were so moved. The quality of the unit for the time, outrageous. And they dropped so many characters as well, so just the build up to Goku and Frieza was really a good feeling. There's nothing wrong with this part 1 reveal, it was just all around good. The part 2 as well, added benefit of it being the first time we get the Gammas 1 and 2 and Orange Piccolo, so a lot of people were hyped seeing the Dragon Ball superhero movie, especially the Gammas 1 and 2's legendary finish. Seeing it in the game like this, it definitely moved a lot of people. And then going into the part 3, the first time they done something so huge, we get the drone show for Ultra Vegito Blue, non-negotiably easily one of the biggest and best part 3s we've gotten. The unit quality as well is especially high. The tap actions art mechanic for Ultra Vegito Blue, it definitely moved a lot of people. We're thinking, what the hell is this? But the build up and anticipation for whatever we're gonna see, people expecting Vegito Blue, people expecting other things, and in the early days of getting Ultras, I think this is definitely a super hype moment, and they really did nothing wrong in this case. But the number 1 when it comes to reveals easily has to go to the 6th anniversary, and I think it's based on how good their part 1 reveal reveal was? They went super big leagues with Super Vegito and Gogeta Blue. Not to add that they faked us out when it comes to the reveals. Usually they drop the less hype character first, and you'd be thinking, if they drop Super Vegito, we're only getting one Legends Limited. There's no way. And in addition to this, a lot of people thought we were getting God Goku. But then to get Gogeta Blue, are you serious? I can't say it's a true one-up, but maybe my feelings are getting involved. Gogeta Blue, big movie boy. We have to respect it. They really knew the only way to one-up Vegito would be another fusion, and they chose GB, and literally nobody expected that. So in terms of hype, whether you're a Vegito guy or a Gogeta guy, and every single Dragon Ball fan is one or the other, you were satisfied. I would argue this is the best part 1 in terms of reception that I've seen in the fan base. Then we move on to the part 2. Ultimate Gohan, quite a stinker, I'm not gonna lie. Nobody was anticipating this, and his animations were quite stale, so we're just gonna move on from that. But God Goku, he has quite the fan base, and a lot of people were satisfied with this pick. His animations were really good, the aura and everything. They did a great job showcasing God Goku, and the community really rode for him, which you could see. And then going into the part 3, they did a really big thing again with Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the cars drifting. He just really did his thing. The ink was really good as well, adding the tap actions art as well. There's just so much going on with Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and I want to add that this celebration is really good because it didn't leak. In terms of grand scale, they really pushed it with the part 1 and the part 3. The part 2 does downgrade it a bit, but because of the part 1 and the part 3 being so grand, I still think it's worthy of being number 1, or could be argued with the 5th anniversary number 2. The second category, we got characters. I think this one is just a lot easier to do. So in 4th place, we've got the 7th anniversary, and this is actually crazy to say, but the amount of complaints about Goku Ball Legends, which is outrageous because it's Dragon Ball, were insane. We literally got a Goku for every single part of this celebration. Granted, I guess it is the 7th anniversary, so they kind of have to do that, but let's be so for real. The variety in the celebration was really bad, and I remember the complaints being so loud at the time. Having another MUI Goku, like I said earlier, is quite tone deaf. Part 2, I don't have an issue with personally, but a lot of people felt that Saiyan Saga was bland, and just the fact that there's a debate about it shows that it isn't all happy and smiles. And though part 3 was actually unreal, it's really just the execution of the units themselves that did so good to make it better than what we already had in part 1 and part 2. I'd also like to say that the community definitely felt that MUI Goku and Kaioken Goku were quite overtuned, and I don't feel like that's a hot take. Every Vegeta just getting snubbed, but Frieza and whatever he be doing to get his insane buffs every single year, he just cooked in the part 3, making it a little toxic, and a little might be an understatement. In number 3, we've got the 6th anniversary, and no, I'm not doing this for good PR. Yes, it is hype, and easily one of the most hype when it came to the reveals, but 3 Fusion Warriors in one celebration is outrageous, to the point where I started looking at every celebration different, like they could just do anything. 2 Gogetas and a Vegito, that is wild. And it doesn't help that in part 2 we get Ultimate Gohan, which pretty much nobody wanted, and God Goku. Sure, he is cool and uplifting the celebration in terms of looks, but I don't feel like his kit did him justice. Nothing new mechanically. I do want to put these units higher because they did have a lot of new mechanics. So we got Super Vegito with the Rising Rush, Gogeta Blue with the Strike Assault mechanic, and we got UG4 with his counter. But having 3 Fusion Warriors, like I said, doesn't add a lot of variety to the game, though a huge majority of the audience will be happy because objectively Fusion Warriors are more hype, meaning that they cater to a higher number of players than something else would. So I'm gonna leave this as kind of debatable between 2, but I'm leaving it at 3. Next up, we got the 5th anniversary, and I feel like this hit the mark in terms of good animations and variety. There was a lot going on here. Part 1, Go Frieza, easily one of the best legendary finishes we've had in the game, and Goku just flickering black and yellow with his hair, them jumping off the rocks, teamwork to get Jiren knocked out, chef's kiss. The kit is also fantastic with their counter. Part 2, the Gammas 1 and 2 in their prep time, visually outstanding, and also mechanically not something new, but it's a nice touch. Orange Piccolo's revival as well, it's a nice touch. It helps out a lot for this unit. Part 2 really did a good job aesthetically and the way they adapted their kits. And then we go into part 3, Ultra Vegito Blue, the first time getting the taps actions art. Mechanically, there's a lot going on here, and visually they hit the mark. Variety as well. I think for these arguments, it's just better than the 6th anniversary, though the 6th anniversary is outrageous. There's just a lot to be spoken about in the 5th anniversary. And then the number 1 definitely has to be the 8th anniversary. The part 1 units probably clear every single celebration in regards to mechanics, visual effects, models. There's just so much going on with Gogeta and Broly in the 8th anniversary part 1. Broly himself, probably one of, if not the best looking unit in Dragon Ball Legends history, and Gogeta, his active gauge, I think that also just speaks for itself. They really pushed the limits for this celebration. Part 2, we get a bit of a stinker here from Shalette because because of the story mode, but I still think because he's a legend unit, it gives him that extra flair. Nothing crazy new mechanically. I guess he does go light type, which we haven't seen before, but it's close to just type neutral, if not the same. And I guess he has the RNG blue, but not really a new mechanic. And Gohan and Trunks, I think them just being a game originals does give them a bit few bonus points because it's not something you can easily get anywhere else in the Dragon Ball franchise. And then in regards to the part 3, let's just be real here. This is easily top 1, if not 2 or 3 best units we've ever got in Dragon Ball Legends history. Reenacting the whole Buu Saga ending, come on man, this is a movie. Also mechanically, the kit here is outrageous. The KO nullification, they really pushed their limits for this part 3 unit. And the first Ultra Tag unit, I think it's very fair to put them top 1 when it comes to the character picks. There's versatility here, variety, mechanics being implemented, and the actual visuals of these characters. They cooked all round. They really did. Now the final category that we've got is the meta and the gameplay. So this is the overall feel in the celebration. In 4th place, we have to give it to the 7th anniversary. There was just so much bad here as well. Part 1, we go into Passive Ball Legends with UI Goku. Just not a good thing. And Vegeta got snubbed again, so he's just trash and not helping out the system. And then we go into part 2 with the ground battles. You'd think this would be amazing, but there's a huge update for the game, so a lot of people's phones simply cannot play the game because they have outdated phones, which is unfortunate of course. But not just that, even if you do have a phone that can play the game, you're not in good luck because your phone's gonna turn into a literal fireball. I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max and I had that in 2025, but my phone is heating up the minute I hit the floor on the ground battles. Going back up is a nightmare. I had to buy a phone cooler just to stream Dragon Ball Legends, and that's me with my 13 Pro Max. If you had a worse phone than me, it was really harsh playing Dragon Ball Legends for lag spikes, but just the fact that your phone might melt. And don't forget the celebrations in the summer. And then the part 3, yes, it was a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie, using Ultra Super Saiyan Goku and Full Power Frieza, but that Death Beam, once people clocked it was the meta, say goodbye. Once that combo starts, it's just a rough time. Not good for anybody. In 3rd place, we've got the 5th anniversary. Universe Rep just ran the game for a bit too long here. MVP 17, Gold Frieza, there was just so much here. Gold Frieza wasn't even meant to be good, by the way, so in part 1, he was actually trash, but then they gave him the developer treatment and he got a buff out of thin air. Not a platinum equipment, not a Zenkai, they literally just changed his kit. I remember people wanting refunds because imagine 1 week after the unit releases, you summoned on something else because you knew he was trash, and then he just becomes the best in the game, and for a long while too, like 5 months. Then we go into part 2, the Gammas 1 and 2 and Orange Piccolo, they both sucked. You're just better off using Universe Rep. I didn't even mention Yellow Jiren. That guy's actual pressure, can't break through him. Orange Piccolo being absolutely glass, and the Gammas 1 and 2, if you get their prep time off, which you probably wouldn't have, they might do a bit of damage, and that's a huge might. And then going into part 3, we have this Singular Red having to fight against MVP 17 and Gold Frieza. Those guys are both blues, and the part 2 units don't help at all because Orange Piccolo sucks. So we've got UVB in an interchangeable top 1 battle against Gold Frieza, and he's doing it by himself on feet by himself. In my opinion though, this was a lot of fun, but UVB being so good individually, he was able to keep up with Gold Frieza and the full Universe Rep team being strong. But never mind that, you could just run them together, which is just a bit more toxic. Now in my number 2, we're going into the 6th anniversary. The part 1 here, quite toxic overall, I'm not gonna lie. Using Super Vegeta with his Rising Rush and Gogeta Blue with the Strike Assault, though we know that Gogeta Blue just wasn't good long term. There's an aspect of fun here that overwrites the toxicity. Like I mentioned earlier, Fusion Warriors are just the general hype thing for the population, so the overall fan base was pleased because you can use Gogeta or Vegeta and you're definitely one or the other. So regardless of if one was just better than the other, people still use the one they like, which bypasses the general rule of the meta where people would only use what's best. Very few cases of this in Dragon Ball Legends history. Now part 2, God Goku absolutely sucked, Ultimate Gohan being absolutely pressure, but you could still use the part 1 units, though there were Zenkais that made this quite difficult to play, e.g. Corrupt Zamasu and Kid Buu. People also bring in Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan to the battlefield, which makes things difficult, but there is choice here to a degree. And then part 3, literally overwriting the whole game. If you don't have Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, you can barely play this game. This guy was nuke or nothing, and even if you try to nuke him in circumstances, he's just gonna backflip, clearly superior. And I think that makes it quite toxic because it really depends on whether you got the unit or not for you to enjoy this part 3, which is a huge shame. And the number 1 in this case, without a doubt, goes to the 8th anniversary, the feel in this celebration was so good. Part 1, it doesn't matter what you want to go, Broly or Gogeta, you are going to enjoy your time, which is exactly how the 6th anniversary felt. But in this case, it's not because both are especially hype as each other, it's simply because both units are very equally balanced. So if you are a Broly fan, you can do just as good as the guys that are using Gogeta, where typically the fusions would be more powerful. That's just not the case this time. They both have their gimmicks to make them powerful, and depending on how you want to play and who you want to play, you can shine. Part 2, we get a little hybrid takeover, not gonna lie. Shallot is not as great, he gets kicked out, especially once the Zenkai kicks in for Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Hybrid Bull Legends just took over the game. Gohan and Trunks, they're just too good. So losing a few points here, but it's just to our surprise, it's only for the build up in part 3 where Shallot is really going to shine. We get Boo Bros and Majin Buu Saga makes a return. We got powerful opponents still cooking because of Broly and all the pieces that released prior to the celebration. The Zenkai Goku and Bardock with Zaha getting an equip makes Shallot relevant again, but people are also using Shallot on different teams to counter Boo Bros because Boo Bros can become a victim to that green Shallot, which is great. So all in all, there's so much variety, versatility, and every unit you can summon for is actually useful. You can use them and actually get very far no matter who you have, which makes it so that it's not just a one beats all type of thing. Every single unit is fun, good, and aesthetically pleasing. I don't think you can have a better celebration in terms of feel than the 8th anniversary unless you simply just don't like these characters, which is a very subjective matter. And that's going to be the end of the video. If we're tallying up all the points based on the results for each category, here's the order from 4th place to 1st place. So in 4th place, we've got the 7th anniversary, which is lagging far behind the other celebrations, and I think that's very apparent. If you look at it very surface level, it does look better, but when you really look at it with a magnifying glass, just wasn't the greatest. In 3rd place, we've got the 6th anniversary, and that's only 1 point behind the 2nd place. So a good celebration overall, but unfortunately stuck at 3rd place. In 2nd place, we've got the 5th anniversary, doing good all over the board, only 1 point behind 1st place, which goes without saying would be the 8th anniversary. I think to close out this video, I want to say that how you scale the celebrations without breaking it down would probably be based on a few factors. For example, I typically just use hype as a measure. If you enjoyed it and felt good, that's all that matters. And if the characters are of that, that's really all that you can consider. But if you want to break it down to the core, as this video shows, you might get a few different results here and there. And let me also add, beyond me saying that, the 8th anniversary just soloed. It's just consistent all throughout the board. But let me know in the comment sections what you guys think. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.